The COM, on April 9th, 2024, the Council of Ministers of St. Martin approved the resolution of ENYA and also approved the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance to sign the outline resolution ENYA on behalf of the country, under the reservation that Parliament of St. Martin will approve the resolution. This reservation is part of Article 14 of the Outline Agreement Resolution ENYA and also of the National Decree, which is signed with the Governor on April 9th, 2024. Based on which the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance are authorized to sign the Outline Agreement Resolution ENYA as we did on April 11, 2024. As this agreement contains a long-lasting financial commitment, it is important for Parliament to approve this resolution as well as also take into consideration, among others, Article 100, 101, and 102 of our Constitution, regulating the budget authority of our Parliament. On September 27, 2023, we had our first Central Committee meeting with Parliament, which was based on a formal proposed resolution for a total restart of ENYA with a capital injection which the Netherlands were willing to borrow to St. Martin and Curaçao. However, this proposal did not make it, as this loan would lead to, especially for Curaçao, for the interest burden norm of the Kingdom Act for financial supervision to be exceeded and violated, which will result in a situation that in the future, the necessary capital investments would be jeopardized. On March 18th, 2024, the second Central Committee meeting took place, through which the current resolution was discussed. On April 2nd, 2024, I provided our Parliament with answers on outstanding questions, and on April 9th, 2024, I provided Parliament with the final version of the Outline Agreement Resolution ENYA to be signed. On April 11th, 2024, the governments of St. Martin and Curaçao and the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin signed the Outline Agreement Resolution ENYA, of which a version was shared with Parliament earlier today. And today, April 15, 2024, we have the continuation of the Central Committee meeting, after which hopefully a public meeting will be scheduled on the Resolution ENYA. The most important aspects for St. Martin. The most important aspects of this resolution would be for St. Martin. Firstly, of course, that no pension will be cut from the policyholders, which prevents social and economic damages. Other important aspects are, of course, the 50 years of dividend payments from the Central Bank of 3.03 million per year, which over a period of 50 years will amount to 151 million guilders. Now that we pay an amount of yearly 2.08 million through our budget, we will have no issues with any interest burden norm of the Kingdom Act financial supervision, so that we could continue to invest in the country through capital investments. Now that the Netherlands have assessed the resolution as financially solid and sustainable, this will mean that this year's refinancing of the 316.4 million guilders will be against beneficial conditions with low interest rates. Without a resolution, an interest rate of 6.9% would be likely applied, similar to what has happened in our sister island, Aruba, which will mean an extra yearly interest cost of 11 million guilders. In my opinion, the resolution ENYA is financially beneficial for St. Martin, and at present for the incoming government. This is on top of the other aspects that we already did for the budget, the 2023 capital investments, and the recently approved 2024 budget, where we did approve the next steps, given the permission to execute on the ENYA, but also including our multi-annual year budget.
Would be, let's say in a repentant fit, the parties that have brought us to this point with the ENYA situation decide to pay back. What would happen to this loan facility at that point? Not that I'm expecting it to happen, but I do hope that all legal efforts are undertaken to get the persons who have brought us to this stage to financially feel some pain as we will as a country. And just as I know that the minister answered it in the first iteration of the Central Committee meeting, but I still remain a little concerned with the structure for the resolution fund, because it's still, let me find it here, it's quite a doc. In the corporate governance resolution fund, Annex A to the outline of the agreement, the fund itself has a supervisory board and a management board, and the supervisory board is going to consist of 4 people, 2 supervisory directors on a binding nomination from Curacao, 1 from a binding nomination of St. Martin, and 1 on a binding nomination of the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin. And they are then meant to supervise the management board. But again, from a governance perspective, 4 people to a board. I'm just wondering what happens in the event of a deadlock, essentially. That's why normally it's 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 if you want to continue to keep it at a odd number, so that in the event of a deadlock, there is a decision that can be taken. And if the minister could, I guess, explain a bit, because there was some confusion when reviewing for the peak facility. I understand what it pertains to, but I just, to make it clear then that this is meant to act as a sort of protection for us going into it. Because again, we're going now into an agreement, which I understand 100% why it has to come about from a fiduciary responsibility perspective, but that many of the persons that are going to be on this management foundation, which is not the management board of the resolution fund, but a separate entity that's going to hold Enya Carib Holdings, and then under that you have ECL, ECS, and ECZ. It's a very complex corporate structure, and I just want to make sure that we are protected from what has happening again, because the central bank is going to have quite a say in who is going to be in these entities. The management foundation already, it says that the 3 members of that particular structure are going to be appointed by the CBCS. So what say do we have in who ends? It's right here in the. Let me find it. Hold on, because I see Mr. Granham shaking his head. But I just want to know, because it says the management foundation will have a board consisting of 3 people appointed by co-option. In derogation of this, the first directors are going to be appointed by the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin. So this is not the resolution fund. This is the management foundation that's going to hold some shares, I guess, of the holding company that's going to be established to hold the rest of Enya. The CBCS and their lack of proper regulation and supervision is why we're here. In the past, previous directors have been protected by politicians from this island, when the supervisory board at the time was highlighting that something was wrong. Regardless of what persons who have been in this hall would like to think, this has been an issue that has been on the supervisory board's radar for Central Bank and the Dutch Central Bank for some time. So I just want to make sure that we're not going to end up in a similar construct, I guess, once this facility is underway. So just the 2 questions that I had were, what if, in a repentant fit, the individuals who brought us here from the Enya side decide to pay back? Because, not many of us had an apartment on Brickell Avenue paid for by a central bank. And then 2, what say do we have in who gets put on the management foundation? Thank you, Madam.
for all of life's twists, turns, and defining moments. RBC is a blend for all of you. SXM, your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social and health insurance.
When we saw the article come out, everyone was in a frenzy, mostly in terms of the feedback that was coming to me, because they were like, how this government going to enter us into a 50 million year loan? And everyone was panicking, a 50-year loan, and everyone was panicking that this outgoing government, this caretaker government, is tying us down with a 50-year loan. Now, one of the issues that I have with the way that information was presented last week was the fact that it was shared like fear-mongering. You know, it was to scare everybody. It wasn't to tell you the reality of the situation, that this Enya saga is an ongoing issue that now a government that is outgoing and then the new government going in going to still have to deal with at the end of the day. But what I was missing in it is a digestible way of it to be explained to us, to understand why this is not a loan. In fact, I was not happy about this kind of resolution, because what this is what we often see in irresponsible financing. It's a bailout. It's not a loan. It's a bailout for collusion between governments, a regulator, and members everywhere else. I can go down the list, but the point is made. This is collusion of bad business practice and government practice in the past. And here we are now finding ourselves where we have to enter into a 30-year bailout by our country and a 50-year bailout by the regulator, who should have foreseen this stuff beforehand. So what my first reaction was, well, through you, Madam Chair, Minister, I mean, here we are cleaning up something, but how do I know it's not going to happen again? How do I not know that the person, the stakeholders in charge, the person responsible for getting us where we are, meaning governments, Ministry of Finance, CBCS, whoever, that it's not going to happen again? Like what assurances are in place that the new companies, once they're formed, are going to perform well and be audited well, be regulated well, and then the central bank is going to do their job, and then government's going to do their job and not interfere and not collude and save people and all that. And you see where I get to this story of where we're starting today, because we're not getting the big picture of this dilemma. We are in a dilemma where now we have to clean up people beforehand who messed up. We're bailing out. And then what made me upset is the fact that here we are so willy-nilly keen to go bail out a company, and then we still had the saga with Tell-M happening. So why aren't we bailing them out? And I want to know from the minister, what's the difference between the bailout? How can we bail out an entity that is regulated, shared between two islands, and a central bank shared between monetary union between two islands? How come we didn't bail out and come with a solution to bail out our own government-owned company, since we act as guarantor anyways for it? What's the difference? Because you have to understand how it's being consumed and understood by our community on St. Martin. I'm talking about St. Martin. So and that's where last week the story that came out in the paper was not a nice one, because you have to understand how people are going to interpret this story. So I appreciate you coming today, Minister, to start, it's a start, to explain this country the responsibility we have now in a bailout. So you started off good. You gave us a bunch of math and all that, but we still have to approve, because if I look at the article that you released, which was an improvement from last week's article, the article stated that Parliament has to approve. And so it was something that came out today, and it said Parliament still has to approve. So is that true? I mean, I know my role here, so I don't want anyone to think that I don't know my role as a member of Parliament, but when you see the article and you go through this document, you kind of feel like, well, you're coming here after the fact.
You already signed off something, and what is our role there still? We have a new government that's going to be sworn in, God's willing, soon, and are they going to continue this? And if they don't continue it, what's going to happen? And that's what I want to understand, because when the newspaper is saying Parliament has to approve it, I want you to explain that to the public of what the overall responsibility is of this bailout. And then you refer to an amount of 2.08 million that is the responsibility, the contribution, the portion that St. Martin is responsible for, and then a potential dividend of 3-point-something million. So basically, it's like an offset kind of, you're telling me, is that, we're getting out a dividend. Explain that better. Explain that better so people can understand it. Explain that, because now the way that you just explained it to me is we're supposed to be getting paid by the central bank dividends of 3 million, and then what we have to contribute in our bailout is 2 million. So that means St. Martin still ends up with 1 million. Is that correct? Because that's what I need to hear. I need you to be able to explain that. So do I understand that it's not so bad? Because last week, everybody thought that all taxpayers were now going to have to pay 50-year loan. And and this is where communication is really important, because while I appreciate him being, the Minister of Finance being here today, Madam Chair Lady, I am still missing the bigger picture of Enya. This is just the start. There was somewhere a term starting about a restart or something like that, or I don't know what the word was used, but this is the start, because we're not even touching the things that are linked to Enya. Because in the beginning of the year, you had the Parliament of Curaçao, make a decision to sell the assets at Enya. So I want to understand when a parliament on another island that we're linked with, that we still have to now do a bailout with that parliament, with central bank, where do we start talking about the fact that the parliament outside of St. Martin made an agreement, they approved, to sell the assets of Enya, which part of it is in our country?
Madam Chair Lady, I'll tell you why this is sort of like bittersweet. It's sort of like understanding, because you sort of understand why something needs to be done. But then on the other hand, you're like, in my opinion, Madam Chair Lady, to me, Curaçao won and St. Martin lost. To me, when I look at it, Curaçao won. And I want to explain to you why I feel that is what it is, and St. Martin lost. You see, Madam Chair Lady, like what my colleague made mention of, you see, if Mullet Bay was tied into this, that St. Martin, look, listen, you're going to get this part of the patrimony that is in your island, you're going to get this part. If something relating to that was involved in this agreement, somehow I would have said, well, you know what? At least we can hold on to something that belongs to us. At least we are holding on to something that belongs to us. Now, Madam Chair Lady, I listened to the Honorable Prime Minister when she said, we are tied to the hip with Curaçao. And that's exactly our problem. That there is exactly our problem, Madam Chair Lady. And this is the reason why I keep saying it all the time. At some point in time, we as St. Martin have to come to the realization that our concern is only St. Martin. It's St. Martin. Yes, the central bank is between St. Martin and Curaçao. Yes, all those things is all fine and well. However, Madam Chair Lady, my disappointment here is all these entities will be created. All of them is going to be created. A new one is going to be created here. A new one is going to be created here. But who's going to have the oversight of these new entities, Madam Chair? The same central bank. The same central bank that had lack of oversight, that caused the problem, or have the problem to where it is today, that we are building it out, to use my colleague's word, Madam Chair, going to have that same oversight. What is St. Martin's role? And then when I listened to the minister said, in those new shares, Curaçao is going to have, I think, approximately something like 96-point-something%. And St. Martin, I have 3-point-something%. I stand to be corrected on the percentage of it. And then it goes on to say that St. Martin will be paying 2.3 or 2.8 or 2.08 million right? The central bank will be contributing 50 million. And then the minister make mention about the goal. The money that the central bank will be committing, that 50 million, where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? That 50 million, where is it coming from? Whose money is that? Because the central bank is generating monies from where? Where is that money coming from, Madam Chair Lady? Because what we are seeing is the 2.08 million. But Madam Chair, 5 years ago, the central bank had no dividends to give to St. Martin. Yeah, we get it now. We get it now because you leave it and you put out your foot, so we get it now. But what happened 4 years ago? 4 years ago, we got nothing. They had no dividends to give to St. Martin, Madam Chair. But you see what happened, and this is the reason why I said Carousel won. So to fix that problem, Madam Chair, they have now found dividends. So, and that's why I spoke to the minister the last time, we are going to give you your dividends, and from your dividends, we're going to take this portion to pay, and then you're going to get the 1 million balance back. But we didn't get nothing. The dividends is mine anyway. It belongs to me. All of it belongs to me. I am the one to make a decision from that. St. Martin is the one to make the decision from that. Not the central bank. Not to bail this out. They are making the decision, not us. Not us. So we are tied into this for 50 years. But who to the outgoing minister, Madam Chair, and to the Honorable Prime Minister, Pisas and etc., who tell them that St. Martin won't be tied to the hip with them for 50 years?
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurance. For all of life's twists, turns, and defining moments, RBC is a blend for all of you.
The gun violence in our country. This weekend, once again, another life was lost. And it's happening, this nightlife entity place. And the name don't make a difference, everybody knows what we're talking about. This is not the first victim that got killed there this year. They gunned down another one by car. And they shoot at it. Look, what I'm trying to say is this. It's not the nightlife entity that's creating this problem, Because everybody have a itch to go out at night. I used to have it too when I was younger. But the ease of getting a gun in St. Martin, Dutch or French side, because it's both sides full of them, is worrisome. We are not doing nothing to get the guns off the street. We're not. I don't care what the minister and our whole damn cabinet and the police force say. I don't care about that. Nor the prosecutor's office. Because they are not doing it. Look, customs checks at the port. Are they really only coming in through the port? How many boats move up and down this island? Do we check them? No, we don't. We really don't. Aircrafts, they land, cargo comes in. Do we check everything? Do we have the scanners to check for these things? I don't think so. Because if we do have them, and the amount of weapons are still coming in, because I know on the French side for sure, they ain't got the scanners, they got on the Dutch side. And that's what I'm saying. We need to tackle this. Because they're blocking everybody gun permit. Because they want the guns off the street. But those guns, you know who got them. You know their type. So if there's an incident, you can always go back and check those guns. But it's the 1,000, 5,000 illegal guns in the street that you have no clue about. Yet nothing is happening. This shootout was between young people. And when you see the video of the gentleman flying across the road, I mean, listen, it was like a rocket launcher. Bam, 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 bam. And shots were flying. You were seeing the sparks. Every spark was a shot. This is crazy. Innocent people could have been killed, if not killed. Because I don't know the whole story. All I know is 1 dead, 3 injured. Condolences to the family of the deceased. But this is crazy, people. What do you think will happen this carnival season? What do you think will happen, Juve? What do you think will happen outside the village or down the ring road? These are beefs between organizations and groups or whatever they are that are playing out in public domain. None of them don't say, let's go down in the bush, shoot each other. No, they're doing this in public domain. Just like the school fights. That's how they ref up each other, everybody filming, put it on Facebook, hits. They are taking out gang members to grow in rank. But innocent people are caught up in the middle of this. This is going to destroy our economy. This is going to destroy our tourism. One of these days, a tourist will get shoot. And then what happens? And again, not because a tourist didn't get shoot. We have to wait for one to get shoot. We have to deal with the matter of gun violence. You know, the Dutch always talk about all kind of things. And one of them was cross-border crimes. And how they have to put 25 million euros into that and protect our borders. Well, you ain't protecting our borders and you ain't doing shit about cross-border crimes. Because guns, as an organization does. Ain't one fella just mailing in guns into St. Martin. There's an organization dealing with this. And you ain't doing nothing about it. Or you're part of it. One or two. Whichever one. But St. Martin needs that type of help. Instead of putting a bunch of money in, trying to lock up politicians, try to stop the crimes. Try to stop the gun import, the human trafficking and all those things. Because that's what's going on. We are doing as if it doesn't exist, but it's right in front of our eyes. Another young child, because it's a child, lost his life Sunday morning 4 o'clock. Why? For what? How much more need to die? Or must it be that it is from a politician, or from a high police officer, or from the prosecutor, or from the politicians, or from the governor? Must one of their family members be shot and killed in these charades so that we can then say we're going to intervene? Come on, man. A life is a life. Every life matters.